cycles about the ship. That's nothing new to us. This has happened over and over again. You follow? Now, there was supposed to be a certain shift that's supposed to take place with us also that goes along with it. With every dimensional shift comes a genetic shift. So as the dimension shift, as we go from the moon cycle to the sun cycle, from the third to the fourth dimension, the genes are supposed to shift also. You follow? And as the genes shift, the minds and the mentality is supposed to shift. You know what I'm saying? All of that took place right as the dimensions cross over. You follow? And that was necessary for a group, right? The group that rides it out through all of these cyclical shifts, that was necessary for them to survive, because the gene has to shift to prepare for the new environment that's happening. That's why right now scientists are saying every hour 3 species, 3 plant life and 3 animal life species are dying. They're going extinct, right? And so right now he's in panic mode right now, because he's trying to figure out where all the marine life, why it's dying out, right? He's trying to figure out why the animals are going extinct at a rate where they can't even save it. You know, they used to set up a preserve and do all these things to try to save panda bears and all kind of exotic monkeys and et cetera, but he can't stop it. It's happening so fast, right? They're going extinct in days, not months and years anymore. So he's trying to figure out why that's happening. Well, that's happening because as the cycle shift over, right, environments change. You know what I'm saying? Atmospheres change. The chemical makeup of the planet, the biological makeup of the planet changes. They just put out an article, and they said in that article, in certain climatic conditions where the planet is hotter, warmer, and more humid, 95% of the life that's on the planet now couldn't even survive in it. Now, if you read 9 Ball Part 1, it told you in there that our ancestors were grown on this planet at a time when if you had to have a certain amount of sun heat genes or melanin in your genetics, follow, you had to have a certain biological, physiological makeup in order to survive in those type of conditions when the planet was in a moon cycle phase, or not a moon, but a sun cycle phase. And that sun cycle phase was when the planet, right, was mostly water. It was hotter than it is now, which is what it's getting to now. And it was more humid. The atmosphere was more humid. You follow? So they found out that in those conditions, most of the life that's on the planet now can't survive in it. What they're finding out is you are now coming out of an ice age. That's why all the polar caps are melting. You follow? When the planet goes through an ice age, most of the planet is covered in what? Ice, except the equatorial areas. You follow, which are more tropical during that time. But as you're coming out of that ice age, right, you get the kind of climate that you had the past 6,000 years. Okay. The past 6,000 years. Now they're finding out that the ice really ain't supposed to be there. And the ice is melting. And it's melting faster than they were calculating. Because their calculations, they were giving calculations of what? 2100. You know what I'm saying? Now it's 2050. Yeah. And that's what they tell you. That's the calculation they give you so you won't panic. You follow? They're now realizing, and they're not going to tell you this, and this is why they're censoring all the scientists, the NASA scientists. This is why the ones that are not censored, they're discrediting, and the ones that they don't discredit, they kill. You're hearing about all these accidents, you know, so-called accidents where NASA scientists are being killed. One of the guys, he held up some of the people in the office and ended up killing a couple of them and killing himself. And you just think that that's happening. That's not happening by mistake. That's intentional. That's because there are people that want to tell you this stuff, and he won't let them. He won't allow them to tell you. By 2012, all that ice will be melted. So this is the thing. Their calculation is that once all the ice melts at the polar caps, the sea level will raise by 200 feet. You follow? Because that's a lot of ice. You follow what I'm saying? So these are the types of things that when you start, when people were coming with the question, they would come, I said, they need direction. Because there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of bad light. You got good light, you got bad light. There's a lot of bad information. See, they knew that this age was coming. The age where you start to become aware again. And you start to seek. information outside of the confines of religion. They knew this time was coming. And because they want to be ahead of the game and control everything, right? And control the minds of the people to the degree that they were currently doing it, they said, well, we want to control the age of information also, and the age of awareness. So what they do, as they know that your mind starts to expand outside of the three monotheistic religions, you start to get into what you refer to as metaphysical information, interplanetary information. You follow? The so-called conscious information. You follow? So they have now disseminated all types of information that if your mind is on that level, you can find a book on. You can find a book on metaphysics. You can find a book on Hinduism. You can find a book on, 2012. But you're getting their perspective of 2012. You're getting their perspective of metaphysics. Right? The master teacher always taught, in order for information to be effective, it has to be in sequence. You can't just can't put a book out there and say, okay, we'll read that book. And then you read that book and then you're like, well, it answered some of my questions. Right? But it answered the question from their perspective. 2012 is doomsday for him. Armageddon and apocalypse is negative for him. Go look up what the word apocalypse means. And people say, you ask the average person, you say, what does apocalypse mean? Right? What does it mean when they say the apocalypse is here, or the apocalypse is coming, or we're close to the apocalypse? And you ask me, say, well, it deals with, when the world would end, something bad, everything dealing with something negative. But when you look up the word, the etymology of the word apocalypse, right? The word means to uncover or to reveal. You follow? But they made you think that it was something negative. Because to reveal or to uncover these things is negative or bad to him, not us. Because now you're starting to see through the lies and the deception that he put out there for the past 400 plus years as we were brought to the shores of America. So now you're starting to understand, right, and see through his concepts. So when you're thinking of doomsday or apocalypse of 2012, you can't think of it in the same way that he's talking about it. You follow what I'm saying? Because if you do that, then you will continue to be trapped in his concept of time. Right? 2012 is his date. Right? 2000 is his date, because when they say 2000 AD, and they measure that by 1 BC or 1 AD, which before that you had before Christ, and then Anno Dominus, or after death. So you're calculating time by religion. As soon as you say 1 BC, it's like, okay, hold on. What about the people that are living in a remote part of the world that don't know nothing about Christianity? Is it 2007 AD to them too? Right? Was it 1 BC or 50 BC to them too? You follow? So it's like, okay, what was our calculation of time prior to your dates? Because you do notice that what he does, he calculates time according to the time that he's here. Anything past 6,000, right, BC, right, or 4,000 BC, he says is prehistory. So he go into prehistory, right? So prehistory, he has no information and no knowledge of what happened. He's still searching for that. Right? So if you're calculating your time by the time that he's allotted to include everything in creation by the time that he showed up, they tell you Adam and Eve was born 4,000 AD, 6,000 years ago. Right? The first man and woman was Adam and Eve. This is what theologians were taught in seminaries. This is what they teach their congregation. Right? And now they're digging up bones of people that lived in Uganda and Kenya that go back 2.1 and further. That's cutting it short, a million years ago.